Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm Right Wing Rico. This is the Safe and Effective Podcast. And if you can see the title, you can see we're going to look at this from a different angle. I think there are some things that we're all missing, and due to the media telling us not to look for patterns and things because that is profiling, everyone just wants to pretend that they don't see something happening when they do. It's okay to profile people. If you see a group of people that are all wearing one color, showing that they're from a gang, and you're wearing the opposite color and you're a regular person, cross the street. Don't just be happy-go-lucky and think everything's going to be okay. That's what we're going to have to do right now. An observation of mine is also shared by the Russians. The Russians have been very public about this observation. That's why you're not allowed to see anything from Russia. Russia Today, RT News, is banned. All other Russian media banned. If you're an American or a European, you're no longer allowed to hear the opinions or hear what the other side, what the Russians have to say. What the Russians have said repeatedly is that this is a war between countries that put on pride parades versus countries that do not. If you look at every country in NATO and then you backtrack what they've been saying, USAID has been doing, to be a part of our club, to be a part of NATO, to be a part of the EU, to be a part of the West, and under our umbrella, you have to accept the LGBTQP ideology. You have no choice. It's non-negotiable. Why? Why? Are those people happy? No. Do they have children? No. What is one of the first things the Bible says that you are supposed to do? You're supposed to be fruitful. Those people will not be fruitful. Those people often self-delete before the age of 34. When you look at the people now who are the most pro-war, they are also the people wearing pride and gay flags. Since when are Democrats pro-war and pro-military industrial complex? You know, watching this shift happen in real time, it's amazing. But again, the Russians warned us. The Russians warned us against working with the Ukrainians, but what they wanted to do was push the LGBTQ agenda in Russia. But Russia's a closed society like China. They don't allow it. When you can push that ideology amongst those people, you can radicalize them. Right now, you see people protesting against Elon Musk, of all people. Why? Well, he effectively cut off the funding for the LGBTQP agenda in all these countries. Who knew that American taxpayer money was funding pride parades and puppet shows for queer kids in Macedonia? Who knew we were doing so much gay stuff around the world? What I see is a proxy war happening right before our eyes. The title of this episode is Depopulation versus Preservation. Right now, the gay community around the world, which is now merged with the black community. The black community and the gay community are one. They are pushing for war. Wars that they don't even think they're going to be fighting in personally, but they want your kids to do. They want your kids to go. They want your kids to sacrifice themselves because they want to get rid of you. See, your kids might not be gay. They don't want non-gay people and non-gay kids around. Everything is against straight people right now. Just look at how they're treating Donald Trump and JD Vance. Men with children, men with wives, men with families. Even Andrew Tate, he doesn't even have a wife. But the gay agenda, the gay machine hates him for having children. When you're in when a depopulation agenda has been agreed on, someone having multiple children literally contradicts the mandate. They want you to be sterile. They want you to self-sterilize. But that's who this war is between. The gay community has come together and amassed a lot of wealth and a lot of influence. Klaus Schwab is at the top, and he is at the World Economic Forum, which controls the World Health Organization. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum are in charge with giving top-down orders to all of the countries in NATO. Through my own research and discernment, reading the articles and putting the pieces together, this is between the World Economic Forum and the United States. The goal is simple: reduce the population of men around the world. The jabs have done a really good job of doing that, but it's not working fast enough. And these men are getting older by the day. These are old. These are people in their 80s and 90s that are controlling this. War is the next fastest way to hit a depopulation goal. The problem is Trump won't play ball. Trump said we're not going to war. You don't believe me? Look at this.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war. And they will have to fight because it's nature that we're talking about, and they will be dying.
I don't know how old you are if you're listening to this, but have you ever seen a world leader talk like that about the lives of your people, your soldiers, your children? There's something strange going on. There's something weird that we are in denial about. Zelenskyy has a nickname around these parts. What we know, you might know him as Volodymyr Zelenskyy, but what we know him as famously, in these parts, is we know him as Jiggly Dick.
Good guy. Who told you this?
This is Volodymyr Zelenskyy dancing in high heels as a man with tight leather pants on, grabbing the asses of other men as an adult. This is the man who's telling us our kids need to die.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war. And they will have to fight because it's nature that we're talking about, and they will be dying.
Never in all my years have I ever heard another person talking about sending other men and women to die from another country, that a language that he even barely speaks, and he's speaking for them with such bravado and such confidence. But again, we know him as Jiggly Dick. He's wearing a leotard and white boots. He is effectively a gay man. Many gay men in Europe are married. They have wives, they have children. It's a part of the gay culture. Things are different here in America. You kind of think someone's going to be gay across the board a certain way, but that's not always the case. Here in the United States, we do things differently than the Europeans. Trump, lucky for us, Trump just said he is going to halt all military aid to the Ukraine after this outburst by Zelenskyy.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war. And they will have to fight because it's nature that we're talking about, and they will be dying.
Who are you to speak for an American and say what we are going to do? But that's because he doesn't think the United States is in control of itself. He still thinks we're under control of the World Economic Forum. Joe Biden is gone. There's no Democrat as our president right now. Kamala Harris is out. Those people were handpicked by the World Economic Forum to bring in this agenda. Now there are some kinks. Things are not going to work out the way you thought they would. And, you know, people are sitting here saying, oh, Putin is so happy. You know what? So what if he is? Everyone keeps wanting to say, well, I'm anti-Putin. I'm not pro. What's wrong with being pro-Putin? Why is Putin so bad? I'm way more pro-Putin than I am pro-Zelensky. Because for one thing, Putin shares the same views as a typical American. None of us believe in the gay agenda as an American. We do not. He banned so that gay people cannot adopt children and just disappear into another country, and then those kids disappear too. And then you see the gay couple a few years later, and they're like, what kids? They put a stop to that in Moscow. Putin also has been begging for peace. He didn't want war. He wasn't the aggressor in this war. But they lie and they say he was, and they outline everything as if they're always the victims. Where have we seen that before, where people use victimhood as a crutch to kind of get what they want? You know, it's a common theme when we look at the countries that we're involved with, whether it's Israel, whether it's, you know, certain communities in the United States. They play victim and they use your sympathy against you. We have to be honest about this. Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin long ago warned us. They warned us about doing business with the Ukrainians. They don't want to take over Ukraine, but they don't have a choice. To protect the NATO mantra was to destroy the Putin regime and to divide up Russia, basically destroying Russia. No more Russian. Zelenskyy made it illegal to speak Russian. He outlawed certain letters in their alphabet. He blocked elections. He shut down all the churches. Russia is an Orthodox Christian country, very religious, very family oriented. They're fighting for their lives, and this is an existential threat, bringing hostile military forces closer to their border. There's no way this conflict can end without the Russians taking all of Ukraine now. And Zelenskyy spitting in the face of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance in person literally ensures that if anything, the Americans will be helping the Russians fight the Ukrainians. We're not going to have a choice. I took this as a threat. This man threatened
Send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters.
Our sons and daughters are not the same. Let's be honest. We are Americans. You're a Ukrainian. You can never compare yourself to us. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. We're not the same. So saying that because you sacrificed 500,000 or more of your own men and liquidated generations of men in the Ukraine, that America is going to be obligated to do it? That's not happening. We are not giving up blood and treasure for Ukraine. We wouldn't do that for anybody. And that's why within the next 2 weeks, the United States is going to have to fully pull out of NATO, because if the Europeans are already talking about invading the Ukraine with ground forces, that would literally trigger Article 5. That's what he's banking on. The problem is they're amateurs. They've never started a world war yet. They don't know what they're doing. You can't announce it ahead of time, because now the people that you're trying to trick into this situation, we can pivot. We are going to pivot. We are not falling into a trick bag where we're going to be following the Ukraine. For one thing, we want to do business with the Russians. We don't want to fight them. Matter of fact, who was it? Vladimir Putin actually made us a really good offer. Putin said that the mineral deal that we were expecting with the Ukrainians, we don't need it with them. We can do a mineral deal with the Russians. The Russians want to do business. They want to work. They don't want to fight. So what Putin made us a really good offer, and I think we should take it. For one thing, right here. What he's saying is that if the Ukrainians won't sign a rare earth mineral deal with Russia, then Russia just announced it's willing to do the deal with the United States. And he's explaining that the Donbass, where the actual minerals that are worth anything in the Ukraine, it's now controlled by Russia. So even if they did make a mineral deal with the United States, they can't. You can't sell something that's not yours, that you don't have control over. And if the Americans don't allow you to bring in your equipment and fly out, then you don't have a deal. Putin said, I'm willing to make this deal with you. We want to work together. Please stop making us the enemy. We're not the enemy. But every year you can pretend Russia's the boogeyman and you can cipher money from the tax base of any country. That's why they're in such dire straits to keep these wars going. This is their cash cow. This is their boogeyman. Now, if Putin is on the same side as you, there's no boogeyman. Well, then now what's going to be your excuse for ciphering money? From what I could tell, before they propped up Putin to be the boogeyman, because they knew this wasn't going to last forever, they were trying to come up with a boogeyman from outer space. They were going to have to say, we have to take money now to build up a force to fight aliens or fight some extraterrestrial force, some other nonsense, because space is fake anyway. But that was going to be their boogeyman. They couldn't pull it off. Project Blue Beam, people will see right through it because we share information amongst each other. Sure, there would be some people in the masses, but then you got people like me, right? All I have is some cameras, some lighting, and a microphone, and I literally can talk to you to get you to understand that what you're seeing is fake or what you're seeing is real. But we can break it down and talk to you, and we're not paid by anybody to say anything anyway. Putin has to be the bad guy. Putin has to be the excuse to take all your tax money and to take away your rights. But at the end of the day, gay men who are in charge of the world, gay men who are cross-dressers, you don't believe me? I'll show you. For one thing, Emmanuel Macron is married to a man. And I don't care what nobody says, so is Barack Obama. These are all people in Europe, and I used to live in Europe. I lived in Germany. Out of everywhere I've been in Europe, Germany was probably the least gayest place I've ever been. The lines are blurred. I mean, it's an extreme thing going on there. It's a huge difference than the United States. I mean, it's similar to what you would think you're living in San Francisco, except it's everywhere. This is Klaus Schwab. This is Klaus Schwab, dressed as a bunny walking down the street. This is the number 2 in command of the World Economic Forum. This is Yuval Noah Harari and his husband. One thing about people that live this lifestyle, they do not like straight hetero people with children. They call your children useless eaters. They want to see your children exterminated. The problem is people like this are typically physically weak and small in stature. A lot of the effeminate gay men are weaker. So they have to acquire a security force around them to protect them. Why do you think you see so many black people that stand up to defend gay people, to defend Jewish people, even though they have no stake, they have no dog in the fight? It's like they're used and they're put up against them to shield them because they have the size and they have the strength. But at the end of the day, they're also depopulating them too. They're sterilizing everybody. That's Klaus Schwab. That's what they're doing. And these people, look at this. They're calling this the coalition of the willing. They're all circling a man who dances in high heels, who's gay, who is a cross-dresser. They're circling him. Do you not notice? They all love this guy. Why? We've all heard the rumors about Trudeau. We all know what these people, they call them the elites. They call them the white elites. We know what they're really up to. One thing about gay white people, they hate straight white people. I've noticed it in my travels and my experiences in life. I see it every single day on the internet. Straight white people don't even think about these gay people, but these gay people, their whole lives revolve around getting rid of them and also converting their children into their lifestyle. See, the gay lifestyle does not end with reproduction. Two men cannot have a child. So they need your child. So when you're blocking them from having drag queen story hour in your school and perverting your kids with teachers that wave pride flags and you know, when you're not able to do that, you're taking away from their bottom line. Remember, if your kids are gay, they will never have kids. If your kids are confused, they'll never have kids. And then when they grow up and they grow out of whatever psychosis they're in right now, and they make it to their 20s, and then they look back and think about all the things they did that somebody manipulated them into doing that they really didn't want to do, they self-delete. They wipe themselves out. And we see that happen a lot. You know, the guy that was on the Ellen show, Twitch, he just self-deleted not too long ago. And when they look at him and find out what happened, it's because in his past was a history of being gay. Now that he grew up, he has a wife and kid, the shame, the embarrassment alone, it drove him to wanting to just start over again and just self-delete. That's a typical story with these kids that are groomed early into this lifestyle. This is what we're fighting against to protect children. These people all have questionable histories with homosexuality and pedophilia. Every single one of these people. And who do they all hate the most? Donald Trump. All of them. They're literally threatening Trump because he said that he doesn't want to participate and he's not going to drag us into a nonsense war. All of these people, being that they're gay, they have zero problem sacrificing all the men in their countries to be depopulated in a pointless war against Russia. They have zero problem with it. Matter of fact, that's why they're in these positions. Look at Trudeau. He cannot wait until Keir Starmer is requesting Canadian boots on the ground. All of these idiots put together. Let's see here. NATO has without the United States, NATO has a army combined of about it was estimated like around 1.4 to 1.5 million. That's literally about the size of the Russian Federation military right now. The Russian Federation is not fully deployed. The Europeans, to organize a NATO invasion of the Ukraine, is not something that will be easy to pull off. And countries like Hungary and other nations will not participate. They will be wiped. But the goal is not to win. The goal is to get their men depopulated in these countries. They want to reduce the population of men. They want to get rid of men. Who are going to be the men that sign up to fight in the military? They're typically going to be conservative men, patriotic men, straight men. All that's going to be left are gay and trans, mentally ill men. There won't be any more tough men. That's the goal with all these people. Look at what they're doing. They're lining up to send other people's children to die. And apparently he's in the forefront, and it doesn't, even though it's not like he's more gay, but I don't understand why these people, but you know what? They're being ordered to. They're being ordered to. These are top-down orders from the World Economic Forum, which controls the World Health Organization and the Western world. At the table in London, we are all determined to take action for a strong and lasting peace in the Ukraine to ensure our collective security. Security against who? Russia doesn't want Europe. Russia was selling energy to Europe. Russia doesn't protect. Who do you need protection from? It's not the Russians that are encroaching on your borders. You guys are moving closer to the Russian border. It's literally asinine and it's backwards. But they are happy to send your children to their death. That's something that we're not willing to do here in the United States. Thank God for Donald J. Trump. And then you see the manipulation on social media, and it's just propaganda. To all of you wannabe tough guy MAGA cunts feeling all superior to the rest of the world, one reservist is two. Okay. If that's the case, then stop begging us for our manpower. Stop begging us for our money. Go do you. Do your own thing. If it's like that, then leave us alone. This is the Canadians.
You're making some time.
Why are the Canadians so upset all of a sudden? Because we put tariffs on their country so that they can stop letting illegal immigrants bring drugs over the border. That's something that they should be ashamed of is actually happening and work with us. Now you got this fudge ball from Ontario, Canada, where Drake lives, telling us, threatening us with cutting off our power. I don't think anybody told the Canadians, but we don't need them. They need us. America was energy independent. Actually, America was selling energy when Trump was president last time. He's threatening to cut off our electricity specifically for red states. I don't take too kindly being threatened. And I think that when Trump sees this, he's going to have a response.
For us today, we know that President Trump delayed these tariffs a month ago, and now we're hearing today that this will happen for Canada. Do you have any indication that he might delay them again? Anything that's giving you any hope at this point?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on, Aaron. For the sake of the American people and the Canadian people, he needs to pull back. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen here. You know, President Trump ran on a mandate to create more jobs, keep inflation and low and lower costs. It's going to work totally.
You know, it's crazy. How the hell do you know what Trump ran on? You're not even from our country. We don't know jack shit about you, and we don't care. But you're all involved in our politics, and you care about. None of our governors know who you are. None of us care who the premier of Ontario is. He's a nobody. That means nothing. He doesn't have a gun.
Opposite. Plants will close down within a week. Assembly plants in Michigan, which is a red state. Manufacturing will stop.
Michigan is not a red state. It's Gretchen Whitmer. It's a Democrat state.
And the people of the U.S., which I absolutely love, the American people, they're going to be paying more. The market is going to go downhill faster than the American bobsled team. It's going to be an absolute disaster for both countries. We're your largest trading partner. I don't want to respond, but we will respond like they've never seen before. You need our uranium, you need our potash, you need our high-grade nickel. I will stockpile our high-grade nickel at 50% of your military and manufacturing needs. Your aluminum, the steel, the lumber. It will be an absolute disaster. And this is all due to one person, that's President Trump.
I've heard enough. For one thing, steel, aluminum, lumber, maple syrup. Do you know how big the United States is? We literally were being lazy by importing all of these things from other countries. The whole goal around the America First movement is to bring back manufacturing and production to the United States. That means that no more uppity, crass idiots like this can ever think they have a leg up on us to threaten us again. Never can happen. This is unbelievable. It's unheard of. And I don't know where he's getting these balls from, because when Trudeau kicked his ass up and down during the lockdowns, he wasn't this tough. When they were freezing bank accounts of people that made donations to the Canadian truckers who were fighting to open the country back up and save everybody from euthanasia, essentially, where was all this tough talk? Where was all this boldness? He had none of this energy for Trudeau, who's been kicking the Canadian ass for years now and bringing in immigrants from all over the world who are also physically on the ground kicking Canadians' asses. He had none of this energy for them, but now he wants to talk to Americans and give us all these predictions. Since when are you a psychic? Since when do you know so much? You're not, for one thing, you're not even involved. You cannot say what is or is not going to happen. But also, I love how Trump shut down Zelenskyy when he tried to do that the other day. You're going to feel, hey, don't tell us how we're going to feel. We're going to feel fine. You're not in a position. And I'm saying the same thing to the premier. You're not in a position to tell us what's going to happen. The American economy is extremely robust. We were lazy because a small group of people started outsourcing everything to other countries to make a profit. That's not the American way. The American way is for us to actually do it ourselves. We would love for you to make stuff unattainable from your country. So that would force us to reopen our own and to keep them open. You know, we're going to have to do something to make sure that even after Trump's out of office, the country, the jobs and these industries don't start leaving again. We need that here so that nobody can ever threaten us like this again. These Canadians are just getting out of line. It's sick. Russia conquered half of America faster than it conquered. Literally, you can say Ukraine conquered half of America faster than it conquered. You can literally say the same thing for the Ukrainians. Again, it comes down to, do you support the gay agenda or do you not? Personally, I don't. So I'm going to be on the right. I'm with Trump. I'm against all of that nonsense. Everybody who's gay or black is going to be on the left. They're going to hate Trump and they're going to hate Russia and be pro-Ukraine, and they cannot tell you why. They're only pro-Ukraine because they hate Trump and they think that Trump is antithetical to the Ukraine. They hate Elon Musk for doing audits. I thought everybody would love a good government audit. Oh, the audits discovered that you guys were money laundering using gay parades all over the world to just do nonsense and just siphon money. So now you're mad because the money's being taken back that shouldn't have been in your country in the first place. Well, cry harder. Yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and fight with the Canadians. And now Russia is still the war. The Russians are still advancing on Odessa and Kiev, slowly but surely. They're in no hurry. But again, let's read this article from the Russians. Let me see here. Newsweek. Major religious leader in Russia has come out in support of the invasion of the Ukraine and laid the blame on the group's support of gay rights. This is from the Russians directly. This is an article from Newsweek. I believe this is back in, what year is this? 2023, 2022? Yeah, March 8th, 2022. The Russians are telling you, listen, it's just really versus it's people that support the gays in their agenda versus people that don't. Russians do not. So all the gay supporting countries in Europe, no longer the United States, are all pushing towards war with Russia. People that are pushing the gay agenda want depopulation. Now, why is that? Well, people that are conservative, people that are straight, we have families. We grow up, we get married, we have wives. We make children. We have families. We're concerned about tomorrow. We're concerned about 5 years from now. We're more concerned about the future our kids are going to have in 20 years from now than we are in our personal lives 20 minutes from now. But people with no families and no children, they live by a different set of rules. They're not going to be here in 20 years. They don't care. This is it for them. Heaven has to be here on earth. There is no going to heaven for them. They know that. So they're going to do whatever they can to amass as much power as they can. What they feel, if you ever talk to them, is that straight people are blocking their rights. But when you ask, you say, well, you guys can vote, you guys can live where you want to live, you can do what you want to do. What rights are you not having? The only right that they don't have, that if you talk to them long enough, they'll tell you, is they are discriminated against when it comes to their sexuality when they are a MAP, a minor attracted person. The right to have access for pleasure with children is the only right they feel that conservatives and straight people are blocking. They're tired of living in the shadows and doing, sex tourism in other countries to do their molestation. And now that Epstein is gone, a lot of people can't get their fix. So they want to change the laws. That's the only right that they don't have access to. And they are willing to destroy the world just to have access to children. They're willing to go to nuclear war for access to children. Remember what I said earlier, Russia has banned the adoption of children to gay and trans couples. In the United States, we just had a couple go to prison because they were pimping out these two young little kids to people on the internet, and just they got 100 years apiece in prison, but they should have got the death penalty. You guys don't understand. We're at war with them. This whole thing has two sides. Are you pro LG, whatever the hell, or are you against it? I've picked my side. The people that are on that other side, they hate people like me. If I have a child, they hate my kid. They would hate my wife. They hate marriage because it's envy. They've always wanted that lifestyle, but there's something that went wrong in their brain. There's something that went wrong in their hormones. Something that was injected to them as a child changed how they feel about life and people of the same sex. And the envy and the jealousy will drive you to do a lot of crazy things. It's like they're willing to crash a car to kill you, even if they're also in the car. We're watching that happen right now. We're watching it happen right now before our eyes. They are also going to be in these cities that are attacked if there is a war. They don't care. In their eyes, if they get caught doing what they want to do to children and the laws aren't changed, they're going to jail anyway. That's why they always say they're fighting for their lives. They feel like Trump restoring law and order will literally kill them, because if they go to jail, somebody's going to kill them, because prisoners do not take kindly to pedophiles. So that's why you got to understand what they're saying when they use certain language, when they're talking about this is life or death. He's killing people. What they're saying is that the men who are caught doing harm to children, when they go to prison, they are being killed by prisoners. So effectively, these straight men who show up in a uniform that are police, that arrest you, they are killing people because they're holding you accountable and putting you in prison. And then that goes back to who's in charge, even though the president doesn't create the laws, who's changing the culture and who's basically setting the policies. That's Trump. The Russians know who we're fighting. They've known it the whole time, and that's why you're not allowed to talk to them or listen to them. This is a patriarch in Russia, in the Orthodox Church. Pride parades are designed to demonstrate the sin, one variation of human behavior. That's why in order to join the club of those countries, you have to have a gay pride parade. The church leader characterized pride parades as a loyalty test and said that countries looking to ally with Western powers must embrace them or be shunned. Further, he claimed that the breakaway regions of the Ukraine, at the heart of the current conflict, collectively known as the Donbass, have fundamentally rejected those values. What he's saying is that the western part of Ukraine accepted the gay NATO agenda. The eastern part in the Donbass, that is mainly Russian speaking, has rejected it. It's basically like how if California accepts the whole gay and trans stuff for children and all the mutilation and pedophilia, but here in Texas, we reject it. And we're fighting each other. That's the equivalent of what's happening in the Ukraine. But it's really just a proxy war between straight whites versus gay whites. The difference between straight whites and gay whites are really good at creating alliances of other people to have grievances against straight whites. They look to bring together any marginalized community or anybody who feels sorry for themselves as a victim, and they align themselves with everybody. That's why you see it now in the US. You'll see the gays, they control the black community, the illegals, anybody, any community that comes up and says they have a grievance, the trans, just everybody. And it's weird because they make very strange bedfellows, but what they're saying is that their common enemy is straight white people. When you watch these, you see these interviews on college campuses, what are they saying? Well, straight white men this, straight white men there. And they'll say, okay, well, so what can a straight white man do that you can't do? And then it's like their brain short circuits and they're like, I gotta go. They can't answer because there's no such thing. It's just, it's pretty much a cult mentality where you pretend that you're a victim in order to get sympathy. It's like the new trend. You know, we call them victimhood Olympians because they're like triathletes. They come up with any and every excuse in the world. And at the heart of it, they just blame white men for everything, which it just doesn't make sense to me at all. But it's not supposed to make sense to me because I'm on the right. Literally, my name on here is Right Wing Rico. So that's what we're watching happen day by day. It's gays versus straight people. And it's really just a proxy war. They're pretending that it's something. It's not anything else. Men who dress and dance in high heels like this want to fight men like this. Trump, who has children, who's married, who's a man. These two cannot coexist with each other. Men who wear high heels and dress like this, we cannot coexist with, they can't coexist with straight men who have children and families. They just can't do it. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. Look at this. I'm grateful for his Majesty King Charles. They're already talking about sending troops, 30,000 to the Ukraine. And they're thinking that once the Russians liquidates that 30,000, that the Americans are going to come save them. Are they insane? Another thing you got to keep in mind is that all of NATO has been demilitarized. The previous American president tricked and forced all these European countries to give up all of their ammunition, all of their tanks, all of their missiles, and all of their equipment. I don't know what the Europeans are thinking they're going to do if they go to the Ukraine. They don't have ammo. They don't even have a military industrial complex to produce ammo. They don't have anything like the Russians. That's how you know this is a purposeful suicide mission. This was not meant to be won. This was meant to be lost. They want you to take incredible losses. If you look at what the Ukrainians are doing on a microcosm, that's exactly what they want all of NATO to do. They want you to throw men and women into the meat grinder. The Russians exterminate them, and then you send more. They're not even there to win the war, because what does winning the war against Russia mean? What does that look like? What is a win against Russia? You want to wipe out an entire country, history, people, culture, language? For what? That's never going to happen. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. The Russian country is way older than the United States. And it's the largest country on earth. It's not going to happen. You're not going to wipe out all the Russians. But everyone knows that. This is not a war they're calling for to be won. This is a war that they purposely want to lose. Why do you think they demilitarized themselves for 3 years and they're barely now talking about sending troops? Why wouldn't you have just sent your troops when the Ukrainian army was the biggest and strongest in Europe? Why wouldn't you have just sent NATO troops to back them up at the same time? They wanted these people to get wiped. This is a setup. This is a trap. Trump sees it. Trump sees it. Did you hear him threatening? Look at this. Belgium. Look at this bullshit little army they have. Belgian military on their way to conquer Russian territory. This is a lie. This is a lie. None of these countries are dumb enough to think that they stand a chance against the Russian Federation. This is all a ruse. They want these people to lose their entire male population. There will be nothing but women left for the most part on earth in all of these Western countries. But see, India is still going to have a 1.3 billion population. China's going to have their 1.5 billion population. The Western world, Europe, is done. Have you seen what the streets of London look like right now? I'll show you. I'll show you what the streets look like in London. Horrible. Let's see here. Let's see. You know, when you see what's happening, this is a guy in the Ukraine.
Gave their life, made the ultimate sacrifice defending the independence of Ukraine. People who gave the ultimate sacrifice as a man, defending their homes, defending their families from a marauding rapist invading army. ask JD Vance whether they should be thankful.
Ask JD Vance, who the fuck, bro? You are not an American. We are not even connected to the Ukraine. We're not allies. We're not partners. We're nothing. Why are you making a video dedicated to the vice president of the United States? We don't owe you anything. We owe you nothing. It's none of our damn concern about how many people are dying in the Ukraine. This was a choice. They could have surrendered and negotiated with the Russians. They chose death. Sure, the people that they were bribed into doing this, but I mean, I'll be honest with you. And then, yeah, I can't even say that because look at the other videos of conscription. Look at these other videos where they're forcing men into trucks. Now, this is the video I wanted to show you. These are the streets of London. This is in the UK right now. Keir Starmer, the UK is prepared to defend Ukraine with boots on the ground, but yet you couldn't even. You couldn't even defend London. You couldn't even defend Great Britain. They've literally brought millions onto that small island. Well, I don't even know why all these people wanted to leave these Arab countries and come to the UK, but they're here. So it's like the people that are in the military are not these people from the third world. They're a white, patriotic, straight men from the UK that are in their military to defend their homeland, yada, yada. They want those white men to be wiped out. Now, the good thing is Trump found this out. Trump knows they're trying to get rid of white men off the earth. Men in general, but specifically white men. So what did Trump do? He kicked all the DEI people out of the military. He removed all the affirmative action nonsense because everything in our country's policy the last 30 years have been all anti-white men. Anti-straight white men, everything. Because the goal is to wipe them out. If you think about it, what does the population of the military in these countries look like? The Canadians, the Australians. Now, this is the Ukrainian military. These are what they call conscripts. They're forcing men who they capture to get into vans and they're shipping them off to go fight and die. They don't let you say goodbye to your family. They don't give you nothing. They just kidnap you off the streets. And look at these people. Even though they speak Ukrainian, what are they? Yeah, they're Slavic, but they're white. They want the Russians and the Ukrainians to fight because no matter what, this is less white men on earth. Then if they get the other European countries to pour their militaries, these European countries are going to have a 95, 99% white population in their military. These aren't mixed countries. These aren't countries where it's equal or not. This is Europe. The Italians, the French. Now, the French Foreign Legion is kind of a mixed bag, but for the most part, the French military is going to be white Frenchmen. So gay white men are going to find clever ways to wipe out straight white men. And they're going to, if they force these men to go into the Ukraine, they're basically sending them to Putin to slaughter on their behalf. And they think that that's going to anger the Americans. And we're going to send our white American troops to the Ukraine to die as well. And that's not going to happen anymore. We are going to watch this happen from afar. Trump is no idiot. There is nothing. Now, if they try to do a false flag and say, oh, yeah, a Russian helicopter brought a nuke into Seattle and blah, blah, blah. Even something like that, we're going to all see through it. The Democrats and what's that one, that idiot black chick, what's her name? Crawford, whatever. She's going to scream, oh, the Russians bombed Seattle. The Russians are. They're doing that because she, for one thing, she's a racist. She hates white people. She wants to see more white people die. They all want to see these white men from all because white men are not that many on earth, but these ones in the West, they see them as a problem because they defend women, they defend family, they have religion, they have a moral compass. The World Economic Forum wants to get rid of that. They don't want any of those things. It makes it hard for somebody to control when they believe in God and they believe in themselves. They don't feel like victims. So they hate these people. They hate them and they want to get them wiped. And you can tell because look at who they're sending to die. There's no African countries. There's no Indian country, there's no China. And this is what I'm talking about. I stand with Ukraine, and be honest. I'm being honest. I don't care about the Ukraine. I just hate Trump. That's literally the absolute 1000% sentiment of all of these people that we're watching on the internet and on these shows, because they can't give you a clear reason why they want these wars so bad. Now, in the Ukraine, they're already talking about impeaching Zelenskyy because of what that exchange with Trump. They're already trying to they're like, how are we going to bite the hand that's feeding us? They want to get rid of it. This is the interpreter that's literally the ambassador. She's watching, and she's just extremely embarrassed when she saw Zelenskyy and, disrespecting Trump and JD Vance. Yeah, you bit the hand that feeds you, idiot. And it's funny, the Europeans are saying all this crazy stuff about us, and we're like, we're not even thinking about you guys. We don't care about you. We don't want to see you guys all die in hellfire in the Ukraine, but life is about choices. You can choose not to, but maybe you can't. I mean, it's not like they have guns. They don't have the freedom of speech. They get arrested for posting memes. So really, America and Europe, we don't even have anything in common anymore. We don't have a relationship anymore. That's over. And this is illegal in Germany. A swastika, you're not allowed to have an effigy of a swastika. But I guess they made an exception because Elon Musk cut off all their money for their gay pride parades. All their funding for LGBT. Oh, my, I hate Elon Musk. Why in the hell would a German care about what Musk is doing? Turns out American tax money was being sent to Germany to fund all kinds of nonsense, and they're blaming Elon Musk. And they're literally trying to vandalize Tesla dealerships and cars because he cut off the spigot. Like that's insane to me that's happening, and really not too many people are talking about it. And here we go. Let's listen to what he has to say.
On it, so can I just remind him, Russia is the aggressor.
No, they're not.
Zelenskyy is a war leader whose country has been invaded.
He is not a war leader, and he literally forced the Russians to invade. Why are they not? How do they not understand this?
We should all be supporting him, not fawning over Putin.
I would rather fawn over Putin than Zelenskyy. At least one is a leader. One is a man. One believes in human rights. One also wants peace. The other one wants war. The other one pushes the gay agenda. The other one wears high heels and prances around as a cross-dresser and likely as a pedophile too. Putin is a way better option than Zelenskyy. Yes, I am pro-Putin. I prefer Putin over Zelenskyy. We have far more values in common with the Russians than we do with the Europeans. Period. Full stop. We have way more in common with them. We share more common morals and goals with Russians than we do with Europeans. The Europeans have a really hard time competing with Russians. And and if you think about it, Russia's the one that's surrounded, not Europe. Russia has a right to defend itself. The same way they say Israel has a right to defend itself, so does Russia. So does the Kremlin. And it's crazy. A war criminal, Nigel Farage, is actually agreeing. And then he says this mineral deal is not enough on its own, but I can just remind Trump that Russia is a great. You don't remind my president of a goddamn thing. Do we need you to remind us of anything? No. You're in a way weaker position than anybody on earth. We don't need you. You need us. And you think you can shame us into joining you or shame us into doing what you want? Are you insane? That's not how Americans work. You don't know Americans? We don't bend and fold like that. But again, he's used to dealing with the gay Americans, the gay whites. And they gave him a false sense of reality in the West. We are not the gay whites. Those ones are gone. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, with her trans stepkid, bro, it's just everything was weird. All these people have all this weird shit going on that is just anti-American, anti-family, and anti-white. We're not, but because we know why. Well, we do know why. Yeah, we don't need you to give us advice. We don't need you to say anything. And this is in Israel right here. But we'll talk about Israel in the next episode. We'll talk about Epstein also in the next episode. I just didn't want to talk about it here. Oh, this was funny too.
What the hell are you doing here in America?
You know what's funny to me? When I see a bunch of American blacks clapping for somebody telling someone to go back to Africa, it gave me like a warm, tingly feeling. Because you know that tells me the world is healing. Because now telling somebody black to go back to Africa is not an insult anymore. I mean, because black people are now literally telling other people to go back to Africa. So now you can successfully tell them go back to Africa if you want to. You hate Trump? Go back to Africa. You hate this and this? Go back to Africa. You don't have to live here with us. Oh, you can't say that. Why not? You guys were clapping when somebody else said it.
What the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here in America?
With her accent, she's telling Elon Musk to go back to Africa. Girl, if you don't shut the hell up, that's hilarious. I love it. I'm sorry. When people can fall on their own sword, I love it. It's beautiful to see. Again, we live in a red country with blue cities. Americans are against sending money to the Ukraine.
Up like a rocket ship. My goodness. Up now in 2025 to 41%. And the clear majority of Republicans, and of course Republicans are in charge of the U.S. Look at this trend line here. U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. Back when the war began, back in February.
What he's basically saying is that there was a poll done, and it says that from Americans feel from 7% in 2022 to 41% in this year that Americans are helping the Ukraine too much. You know, him the other day being ungrateful, being rude, and think about it. He's literally sitting there with the president and vice president, rolling his eyes, pouting, getting it just like a woman, just like somebody who's gay. That's why I said this is literally a war between gay whites and straight whites, and the rest of us are just proxies in the middle. All of us. If you go and fight if you go into Ukraine right now, you're basically in a war between gay straights and whites, straights and gays. That's what you're in a war between. Is that what you really want to die fighting against? Now, I would die fighting against pedophiles, absolutely. But maybe pedophiles feel like they will die fighting against people like me who will put them in jail. Because in jail they're going to die anyway. So maybe they feel the same way. Maybe I'm not looking at it from their point of view. You know, and you got to think about that. You have to. You know, these are soldiers. You know, this is an option.
For real situation.
I cannot feel sympathy for you. You did not have to go fight. You could have surrendered. You could have surrendered. You could have found, you know, the Russians are taking, they're taking prisoners. You don't have to sit there and sacrifice yourself for this BS. You should have surrendered a long time ago. You shouldn't even be there on the front waiting for anything. Unbelievable. This is Durban.
Parliament. I have been in prison for 14 months for one reason only. I told the truth about the Biden's corruption in Ukraine. In 2019, I was the first to expose how Joe Biden was using Ukraine for his personal financial gain. I exposed how his son, Hunter Biden, got millions of dollars through offshore schemes and burisma. I spoke as a lawmaker and I spoke as a patriot of Ukraine. But after Biden won in 2020, Zelensky's government, following Washington crazy orders, opened 4 absolutely stupid and fake criminal cases against me. In November 2023, they put me in prison.
Again, the gay whites in the Ukraine are purging all of the straight ones. They're locking away cardinals and people in the churches. They're shutting down the churches and all their political enemies, and there's no elections. So that means there is no democracy. All that's out the window. Man, there's a lot of stuff to go over too. The remdesivir, this new prison thing they're saying that they want to start trying. This guy's talking about Gaza, how they wrote his name on a bomb. And look at this, Garth Brooks.
There's a global initiative, of course, supplies and aid is already spread thin. And this is where you come in. We need your help. We need you to donate.
Yeah, I mean, we always ask for love and prayers. Please keep doing that. Or else I'm going to ask you, dig in your pockets, be part of the greatest global relief plan mankind has ever seen.
Everybody deserves dignity. Everybody deserves a roof over their head to feel safe. You can be a part of that.
Yeah, amen. So join us, won't you? Stand up for love.
Stand up for mankind.
Stand up for Ukraine.
Get the fuck
Stand
out of
up
here.
for Ukraine.
Stand up for Ukraine, Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks, what the hell do you care about the Ukraine? There's like 100 and something countries on earth. Why do you care about the Ukraine? What in the world is wrong with you? You don't live there. You're not connected to there. Why would you be asking Americans to donate money when we've already gave over $500 billion? I mean, they tell you 175. Trump says 350. That's double from what Zelenskyy said already. But the real number is probably 3-4 times that amount, almost $1 trillion in equipment and cash and kickbacks and bribes for this Ukraine mission, because they want to take out the Russians because they won't allow the gay agenda to dominate in their country. This is sick. This is sick.
Well, like, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason. The main reason is that entitlements fraud. That includes like Social Security, disability, Medicaid. Entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here.
So basically, entitlements for illegals is what attracts people to come here. And when they get here, they just get free money. And all they have to do is just support the Democrat Party. So what he's saying is that if you stop the entitlements, not only will the people stop coming here, the people that are here will want to leave. They don't even want to be here no more if it wasn't for you paying them to live here. What he's essentially saying is that without giving money to Democrats, the Democrat Party is only made up of maybe about 50,000 people max. That's what he's really saying. He's saying that it's really not even there. It was basically it was being propped up in smoke and mirrors to make it seem like there's a lot of people that vote Democrat, but really they're all just being paid to, because if they weren't being paid, they'd just vote conservative, because we're a red country with a few small blue cities, but even the blue cities might not really even be blue. That's what he's saying. But I'll let him explain. He just has a different type of way of talking, so I kind of want him to get to the point.
If you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave, and they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
And if it didn't happen, they would turn those people into voters.
Correct.
Which they were trying to do.
They're already turning them. So in New York State, illegal aliens can already vote in state and city elections.
And see, I have a huge problem with that. For one thing, that's against federal law. So now you're breaking federal law so that you can commit voter fraud and allow illegals who are not citizens to vote in elections. That goes against federal law. But who in the Fed is going to do something about it? Who's going to arrest their governor? Who's going to arrest their attorney general? Who's going to make sure that they follow the Fed? You know, when California first came up with the whole sanctuary city, that was a big problem because after that, they came out with, okay, we're going to make marijuana illegal here, even though it's federally illegal, which creates a lot of issues because I invested in one of those operations and you can't get loans, you can't get bank accounts. There's all these weird rules because it's legal in the state, but federally it's still illegal. But when you start allowing states to go rogue and just not follow federal law, well, then eventually you're going to get the results like you have in New York, where they're allowing illegals to illegally vote, and they're actually deciding elections on those illegal votes, which is insane to me. They are not Americans. They should not be able to vote here. And we can't have that spreading. We have to do something about this now.
A lot of people don't know that. I mean, they're trying to fight that, and they're trying to stop that, but they're currently, I think it's like 600,000 are registered to vote, illegal aliens in New York.
That is wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at, say, FEMA, like the agency that was paying for illegal aliens to stay at luxury hotels in New York was FEMA. That's an agency that's meant to support Americans in distress from natural disasters, was paying for luxury hotels for illegals in New York.
It's true.
So they were giving these people luxury accommodations and money in the form of, $1,400-1,500 a month in food stamps and cash and luxury accommodations just so that they can get them to vote for Kathy Hochul and also to vote against Donald Trump. That's why they were spreading these illegals around. But laws came into place and they weren't. And then again, it was too big to stop this time. But they tried. And if we don't do something about it now, they'll be able to pull it off next time, and they'll be able to create essentially a supermajority in the country. Because now you're putting when the margin of win for conservatives is only by 20,000 votes, but you just dump 300,000 illegals in a city and tell them they all have to vote Democrat or they're going to get deported and lose all their benefits, then we don't have a close election. We don't have swing states no more. We have literally complete Democrat one-party rule majority. And that can literally just completely overtake the whole country. This is why we all fought so hard in this last election and why we say we almost lost everything. We almost lost everything. Let's see here. I'll watch this.
Next endless war. I refuse to bend the knee to their next endless war in Ukraine. I want peace. They want money and they want conflict, even if it means.
Again, straight men want peace because they have children and grandchildren that they want to see live in a world that's peaceful. These gay people that are also who are our enemies, they want war. They never want to see you have kids, and they don't want those kids to grow up because unless they can convince that kid to grow up to be one of them, he's an enemy of theirs. It's a very lonely and sad existence to be gay in the first place. But instead of self-deleting, if they can take some of us with them, they would, because nobody wants to die alone.
It's walking us into the brink of World War III, which frankly it is doing, and it's doing it rapidly.
I want to watch the rest of this speech, actually. I don't know where they put it, but this is one of the idiots trying to get you to go send your kids to war. This is what Alex Jones says. This is a totalitarian moron still trying to start a global nuclear war. And this is High Proctor of gang pedos. Yeah, they are. All these people are. Like I said, I believe this is Keir Starmer. He just came to the United States and was begging us for help and money. We're not giving you either. You're not going to pressure Alex Jones and the American people into fighting you into a war that we will never, we have a snowball chance in hell of winning. I mean, think about, look at who our allies are. Weak and gay with suits on, pretending to be serious, but just corrupt and working on behest of gay men in the World Economic Forum, who also control the World Health Organization. Again, those injections that everybody back in 2021, 96% of the adverse are in men. They're wiping out men. They're getting rid of men. War is a really good way to depopulate men. And this is what I voted for. $0 sent to the Ukraine under Trump. 175 billion. Yeah, right. Maybe in the first quarter. It was way more than that. But anyways, this is what I agree with you, Benny Johnson. This is what I voted for too. No money to the Ukraine. Now, don't get me wrong. We shouldn't be sending money to Israel, but let's go one thing at a time. We are going to get to the Israel situation. And that's to stop too, because there's no way in hell a regular conservative person can be morally just, their moral compass is properly calibrated about everything in the world, except when it comes to the Ukraine and they just go total full retard. There's no way that's possible. Obviously, there are people that are being paid and, loyalty is for sale. And now that we know that USAID is funneled into the pockets of people in these other countries who then are paying the Americans to speak on their behalf, it's like this incredible circle jerk. It's ridiculous. Glad to see you there in the United States, fighting a good fight on our side, the Tate brothers. And this is Zelenskyy crying because we won't give him money to fight an endless war. Do me a favor, ponder about what I'm saying. You're going to notice a lot of gays and a lot of blacks and they hate Trump, and they now just love war. And the people who don't want to go to war are going to be straight people that have children and families. We don't want to go to war. War is hell. Why some people are willing to go to hell more than others, you got to just look at their background. Do they have children? What are they doing with themselves? What's their lifestyle like? Those people want, for them, living in a world where they can't have access to kids every day, that's all. They're already living in hell. If you ask them, this is torture. One of them said that Elon Musk sending an email asking, "Would you do this week for work?" must be what it's like to live in North Korea. These people are gay. These people are extremely entitled, and they are trying to destroy and bring down our entire country. And then what? And then where do we live then? Where do our kids live? We have to think about that. That's our responsibility. Do me a favor, share the video, like and subscribe. I'll be back on. We're going to do another talk about Israel, and then but I'm not going to put that on YouTube, and we'll just go over what's happening there and the latest updates. So thank you guys. Take care, and do me and again, if you can, follow the YouTube page. Trying to build up the followers over there as well. Thank you, and see you in I guess in 2 and 2. That's what they used to say.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.